Most automakers in the West are still trying to convince people that electric cars can finally break the 300-mile barrier consistently. Meanwhile, a Chinese battery company most people outside the industry have never even heard of just revealed a battery it says can travel more than 900 miles on one charge. That's basically driving from New York City to Cincinnati without plugging in once. The company is called CATL, and its founder, Robin Zeng, didn't present this as some futuristic concept that might exist 10 years from now. He walked onto a stage in Shanghai and attached a real number to it, over 2,500 kilometers of range, about 930 miles. And honestly, it sounds almost impossible. But the truly shocking part isn't even the distance. There's another detail hidden inside this announcement that could completely change the balance of power in the global auto industry. And once you hear it, you'll understand why companies like Tesla, Ford, Toyota, and Volkswagen may suddenly have a much bigger problem than they expected. But first, you need to understand who Robin Zeng really is. Because despite rarely appearing in headlines, he may quietly be one of the most influential people in the entire automotive world. Zeng grew up in a poor rural area in Fujian Province, China. He later earned a doctorate in physics and, in the late 1990s, started building lithium batteries for consumer electronics. One of his earliest major clients? Apple. In 2005, he sold that first battery company to TDK for roughly $100 million. For most people, that would have been the finish line. For Zeng, it was only the beginning. Instead of retiring, he stayed focused on battery development and quietly began building a division dedicated to electric vehicle batteries long before most of the world took EVs seriously. Then came 2011. As China aggressively pushed electric vehicles with massive subsidies and industrial support, Zeng spun the battery division into a separate company headquartered in Ningde. That company became CATL. And what happened next was extraordinary. After securing contracts with automakers like BMW and benefiting from China's EV boom, CATL exploded almost overnight. Revenue surged from around $1 billion to nearly $9 billion within just a few years. By 2017, CATL had overtaken competitors like Panasonic and BYD to become the world's largest EV battery manufacturer. Today, CATL supplies batteries to companies including Tesla, Toyota, Volkswagen, and Ford. In other words, the same companies trying to dominate the future of transportation are already dependent on him. Inside the industry, some people call Zeng the invisible king of electric vehicles. And the thinking that helped him build CATL into a giant is the same mindset behind this new battery announcement. Because according to CATL, the entire industry has been trying to solve the wrong problem for years. The world kept improving traditional lithium-ion batteries piece by piece. Bigger packs, more charging stations, incremental improvements. But the core issues never fully disappeared. First, range anxiety. Most affordable EVs still realistically deliver somewhere between 250 and 350 miles under normal conditions. And that number often drops fast once weather, highway speeds, or air conditioning enter the picture. Second, charging time. Even advanced charging systems still can't fully replicate the convenience of stopping at a gas station for a few minutes and immediately driving another 400 miles. Third, raw materials. Traditional EV batteries rely heavily on lithium and cobalt, materials tied to difficult mining operations, environmental concerns, and supply chains concentrated in only a few regions of the world. And fourth, cold weather. Anyone who has driven an EV during a harsh winter knows battery performance can collapse once temperatures plunge. For over a decade, automakers spent billions trying to reduce these problems. But CATL now claims it may have solved several of them at the same time. And the most important breakthrough isn't actually the 930-mile range. It's what the battery is made of. CATL calls the new system a dual-power battery architecture. And the concept is surprisingly simple. Instead of relying on one giant battery performing every task, the pack is split into two separate energy zones. Each section uses different chemistry, Each section is optimized for a different purpose. One handles daily driving efficiency. The other acts as a dedicated long-range energy reserve. Essentially, two batteries operating together inside one system. According to KTL, this setup allows the vehicle to exceed 1,500 kilometers of driving range on a single charge. That alone would place it far ahead of nearly every production EV currently on the road. But KTL says the real engineering breakthrough goes even deeper. The company claims it developed what it calls a self-forming anode structure, designed to dramatically increase energy density inside the exact same physical battery size. CATL says the improvement could boost energy storage by as much as 60%. Same battery footprint, far more usable power, and then there's charging speed. Alongside the long-range system, CATL also introduced another battery capable of reaching a 12C charging rate. According to the company, that would allow drivers to add more than 500 kilometers, over 300 miles, of range in roughly 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's approaching gasoline refueling territory. But here's the part that could truly reshape the industry. One version of CATL's dual power system reportedly does not rely primarily on lithium at all. Instead, it uses sodium-ion chemistry. Sodium. One of the most abundant and inexpensive materials on Earth, basically derived from salt. That means reduced dependence on lithium supply chains, reduced dependence on cobalt, and potentially far lower production costs over time. CATL also claims the sodium-based battery retains about 90% of its usable capacity, even at temperatures near minus 40 degrees Celsius. If accurate, that addresses one of the biggest weaknesses EVs still face in cold climates. Which means this announcement isn't simply about building a better electric car, it's about redesigning the foundation of energy storage itself. And because CATL is a supplier rather than a traditional automaker, this technology could spread incredibly fast. It doesn't belong to one single brand. It could appear in vehicles from Tesla, Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford, and dozens of Chinese manufacturers almost simultaneously. And CATL's ambitions go far beyond passenger cars. The company has openly discussed applying multi-power battery systems to heavy trucks, cargo ships, aviation, and massive grid-scale energy storage facilities capable of storing renewable energy for entire cities. Now zoom out even further. According to the International Energy Agency, China already dominates much of the global battery supply chain, including the majority of cathode and anode material production. So when the company leading that supply chain also starts pulling ahead technologically, governments around the world begin paying very close attention. The United States even added CATL to a list connected to Chinese military-linked companies, but the move did little to slow the company's momentum. CATL still completed one of the largest stock offerings of the year in Hong Kong. At this point, CATL isn't merely participating in the EV race anymore. It may already be setting the pace for the entire industry, and everyone else is trying to catch up. Because this story is no longer just about batteries. It's about who controls the future of transportation, infrastructure, and energy storage over the next century. While much of the West spent years debating whether electric vehicles were practical at all, CATL kept scaling factories, securing raw materials, and pushing battery technology forward, quietly, relentlessly. And now the gap between China and much of the rest of the world may not be measured in months anymore. It could be measured in years. The future of driving isn't some distant science fiction idea now. It's already being built in Ningde, and one version of it runs on salt. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more deep dives into the technologies reshaping the world faster than most people realize. And tell me in the comments, do you believe a 930-mile EV battery changes everything, or does it still sound too good to be true?